watching Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
Welcome back to Sunday Sound Off. Our first hot topic of the night. Who sits down when Justin Houston returns? How are they going to do this rotation, TJ?
Well, I think this is a pretty easy one. You sit the dynamic duo of Tamba Hali and Frank Zombo. D. Ford, he is a one-trick pony. He's still working on some other aspects of his game, but in talking with Bob Sutton this week, he has improved in those aspects of the game, and it's made him a better overall football player, especially in pass coverage. I think that's helped him understand exactly kind of what the quarterback does in the pocket. And I do think that, as much as we've all criticized D. Ford, myself included, I still believe that this is a player who continues to grow and will continue to excel in this defense. And not just myself, but Nate Bukaty and several other people have started to opine about what this defense is going to look like when Justin Houston does return. And you've got a legitimate pass rusher now in D. Ford. Blair?
Yeah, Frank Zombo for sure, I think. Simply because he only plays on run downs anyway. He's not in there on obvious passing downs. So TJ's right. D. Ford has been terrific. You know, after the Chiefs game today, the Chiefs put a note out on this. He was leading the NFL in sacks. Now, all the games hadn't been played, of course, the afternoon games and the evening games. But with 9 sacks, D. Ford was leading the NFL. That is a stunning statistic for those who question D. Ford's motor and his ability in the preseason. My hat's off to D. Ford, the job that he's done this year. I think he's gotten better every single week, and I love his new signature sack dance.
What does it mean?
Seren, interpretation, please.
Well, look, I don't know. I have no idea. Come on, I'm completely out of touch with the youth of today, so I have no concept of what it means. Look, I will say this. A number of things. I do love the growing romance between TJ and D. Ford. I think that's a lot of fun to watch. I know TJ's in the locker room for us every week, and he gets along really well with D. Ford. And he's right. I hate to admit it, but TJ's right. D. Ford is playing much better football. He's really growing as a pass rusher. You know, we're not seeing any, he even talked about not having a ton of secondary moves. He is getting more experience. The hand fighting he's getting a lot better at, and he's just doing a great job at getting after the quarterback all around. But that is still only a part of the game. There is coverage. He's not very good at that. There is the run. He's terrible at that. So I think the answer to the question is when it's a run down, D. Ford sits down. When it's a pass down, Tamba Hali sits down, assuming either Justin Houston or D. Ford can move to the right side. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. We know from a left tackle standpoint, we heard Andy Reid spend 3 years explaining to us how tough it was for Eric Fisher to move from one side to the other. So I'm sure we're going to hear similar stuff when it comes to D. Ford possibly, or Justin Houston making that move over to the right side.
All right, our second hot topic of the evening, Travis Kelce's display was, Blair, fill in the blank.
Oh, a lot of things. Amusing, comical, irritating. And you wonder how it's going to be interpreted in the Chiefs locker room. I think the surprising thing for me is, this is something you might have expected from Travis Kelce. I mean, he only played one game as a rookie, but his second year, maybe a little bit tolerated the next year, but not now. He's 27 years old. He's a veteran of the game. This was a move that really could have cost the Chiefs. If it hadn't been for a nice play call and execution on this was a 30-yard penalty that took the Chiefs from the 12 to the 42, and where they faced a 3rd and 30 or so. They picked up 24 yards and were able to get the Cairo Santos field goal to make it a scoring possession. But Travis Kelce really could have cost the Chiefs with that penalty. As fun as it was to watch, as amusing as it was to witness, it was a dumb play. And you just hope the veterans in the Chiefs locker room will make sure they get the message across to Travis Kelce. You can't tolerate this.
Seren.
Well, let me see the question. Travis Kelce's display was brilliantly scary. Look, I love the theatrics of it. I love the quick wit of it, of throwing the flag on the official. That's brilliant. I mean, how can you not love that part of it? But to get that penalty, to get 2 penalties really, and cost his team 30 yards and a chance it was a game-sealing touchdown, that can't happen. Everybody knows that. Travis Kelce knows it. What I think is a little bit scarier, and you could probably even throw in what Marcus Peters did as well in this, is that the Chiefs are starting to maybe get overly confident. Travis Kelce decided in his own mind that the game was over, that the Jaguars couldn't come back. He did not finish the game. He let his emotions get the better of him. Marcus Peters could have been the same thing. He should have been kicked out of the game as well. Let his emotions get the better of him because they decided that the game was over and their participation in the game was no longer necessary. That's scary. And I think the bigger picture is you wonder a little bit, are the inmates starting to run the asylum? They're playing great. They're winning football games. They need to keep winning football games as their top priority and not showing their emotions and frustration.
Yeah, especially it's really hurt him if he does get suspended against Carolina.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're really going to be in big trouble there. And our final hot topic, the Royals' #1 priority this offseason is, Seren?
I'm going to go with starting pitching. I know most people are going to say a bat with Kendrys Morales leaving or at least opting out of his part of the contract and now moving into free agency. I do think that getting Mike Moustakas back helps them out offensively there. But I think they're going to need to be better with the starting pitching. Look, their bullpen was historically good. I don't think you can expect them to get back to the 14-15 bullpen. They need to get better in the bullpen than they were, but they were already the second-best bullpen in baseball. Their starters need to go deeper into the game to get them further along in the season so that bullpen can be fresh and healthy. They wore through a lot of arms last year. I think they need a veteran starter so they can keep Strom in the minor leagues to at least start the season, hopefully come on and be that big boost to the rotation down the stretch. But I think they got to go find an innings eater for this starting rotation as their top priority.
TJ, get back to World Series. Where they got to go?
Yeah, starting pitching for sure. I think that for all intents and purposes, Dayton Moore is excellent at finding arms for a bullpen, and we've seen that over not just the last couple of years, but beyond that as well. He's always been good at that. He's also been good at finding bargain bin pitchers, guys who he doesn't have to pay major contracts to get to come here, and then they end up pitching effectively. So I'm not necessarily concerned about filling the holes. What I'm concerned about is the development of your Donovan Turd, the development of Danny Duffy, continued development, that they continue to improve and not have setback years this coming year and struggle, because that's really been the Royals' #1 issue is developing starting pitching that they draft. They have not been very good at that.
Okay, Blair, 2 on starting pitching. Where do you fall?
Well, I won't disagree with either one of those sentiments, but I'm going to say offense. Look, this was a team where strikeouts were up. The contact was down. Certainly, it's always been a team that has lacked power playing in the stadium where it does. It looks like they're going to lose Morales. I want to see more offense from this team. Look, Seren's right. I mean, they didn't have Moustakas for most of the year. Lorenzo Cain played hurt. Alex Gordon was hurt and played way below his ability this season. A lot of things have to go right for the Royals next year for them to be the offensive team that led them to the 14 and 15 AL championships in the 15 World Series. So I just want to see a little more offense. And some of that is from the established players. I think they're going to have to go out and find a bat, too. I don't know what they're going to do with DH if Morales isn't back next year. Are they going to rotate it around the way that they have talked about doing in years past? We'll see. But this is an offense that's got to score more runs next season.
Blair, and then I'll ask Seren you the same thing after this. Anything surprise you by their moves just recently, the things they did with the rotation? I'm sorry, the things they did with signing the guys that could sign and not signing the guys they didn't want to sign?
No, I don't think there's a surprise here. I think this was expected with Volquez and Morales. I wasn't surprised by any of that.
Maybe I'll say Edinson Volquez was mildly surprising because I think they do know that they need more length out of that rotation, and he's a guy that can give it to them. And look, $10 million, you're not going to find anything better in free agency than Edinson Volquez, and you're not going to find it a lot cheaper than that when there's so few choices out there and so many teams that are always looking for starting pitching. So shocking, no, but a little bit surprised that Edinson Volquez maybe didn't, and maybe they did work a little bit with him. But I'm mildly surprised that Edinson Volquez didn't get picked up.
Seren's absolutely right. Bad year for free agent pitchers.
Yeah, right. So I think that's why he's going to end up getting a monster contract, don't you think? Volquez?
Monster, no, but
Big?
more
bigger than the Royals were going to pay him, right?
2 or 3 years, yes.
Sure.
I mean, because he can eat some innings for a team that's out there. So yeah, I think Volquez has value on the market. If you read what some teams are looking at, they were kind of eyeing Edinson Volquez and kind of hoping he wasn't going to be, offered, that the option wasn't going to be picked up on the Royals' end. So I think he adds to some pitching depth, and it's obvious that the Royals have a different plan somewhere. Look, in Dayton Moore we trust. He's done a pretty darn good job putting this team together over the last few years.
Yeah, just worry about trying to get those 30 homers back from Kendrys Morales. It's going to be tough.
Yes, it is.
Okay, up next, we're going to get some final thoughts from the panel. It's their time to sound off on anything that's on their minds.